If I Should Die by Donevy Westphal. Available through Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and other retailers. Chapter 1 will be beginning on page 10. Julius was able to use the signs to tick off the distance he had traveled. 5, 10, 15, 25. Any time now he ought to see, yes, an exit sign for Beetle River. And there were trees in this state. Tall, green trees beside the Beetle River exit. His mobile phone buzzed, and he pulled across his shoulder of the exit ramp. "Hey," he answered. "You're looking for Albert Meister." It was Director Meyer. "He is the kingpin that disappeared from Chicago." "Okay, Director. You got it on the computer? I spent 48 hours losing the agent tailing me. Germany, Brussels, finally Paris, at the Louvre. 48 hours. I haven't had time to look." He ran his fingers through his hair. "Yeah, it's all there. Everything's set up in the intel I'm sending. And look, thanks for taking this. You're the only one good enough to step in. All the other agents are in place, and it's good to go." Julius felt sick. "Just give me the info." "Contact me when you get your base set up." The line went dead. Only 33 years old, and chaos, destruction, and despair haunting his every waking and sleeping hour. Easing off the exit and then back onto the shoulder of the main road, he angled to get a better view of the town. He reached over the seat, grabbed his carry-on bag, and rummaged for his binoculars. Through his binoculars, he glanced over the small Midwest town sprawled on the hillside across the river bottom. A tap on the side window made Julius slide his hand under his jacket to grasp the holstered Beretta. He semi-relaxed when his peripheral caught the smiling, wrinkled face of a sandy-haired man. The man tapped again. Julius extended an index finger. Just a minute, he slid his binoculars into their case and hit the window switch. "Can I help you?" "Looks like you've got a tire going down. I've got an air bomb." "What? I picked up this car half an hour ago. The tires were fine." Julius scouted the scenery. Only him and the old man. He opened his door and slid out. "Well, I'll be." He stared at the sagging tire. "You've got air?" The wrinkles on the old man's face indicated a life of many weathered storms, and his slightly starched button-down shirt and neat work slacks suggested the old man's age to be in his mid-70s. "You'd be surprised how many times this comes in handy." The old man stepped across to his pickup and pulled out an air tank. "Not many stations out here, and it's a long walk if you're not prepared. Not a very forgiving place." He handed Julius the tank. "Like the good book says in Proverbs, good understanding giveth favor, and the way of the transgressor is hard." The man squinted. "You're not from around here, are you?" "No, out east." Julius squatted down and attached the hose to his tire. "Beautiful country out east." "Yes. Sure good you came along." Julius felt the side of his tire. "Do you have a tire tester?" "Yep." The old man placed the device in Julius's waiting palm. "Looks good here." Julius handed the tester back and stood. He whistled, looking over the sleek lines of the man's pickup. What a pickup. 1928 Ford in mint condition. "I always wanted one of these buggies when I was young. Lots of space between me and being young, lad, but there's something to be said for getting what you want. Doesn't always happen." "No, seldom does." Julius smiled, but the words pulled at his heart. "Still, God's always mindful of his children." "You're a preacher?" Julius peered at him. "Not hardly," the man snorted. "Well, I need to get going. Tell them hi at Mom and Pop's from Hiram McCormick." "Thanks." Julius waved as Hiram backed his pickup around and disappeared down the road. Chapter 2. Julius dropped back into the white Buick Somerset. Something about Hiram resonated like a cloister bell down a long passageway. A familiar passageway. A passageway that, once you stepped into it, led you to a kind of heartache or homesickness. More than anything, he longed to sit in that orchard again, eating green apples and salt, to run barefoot through the pasture where his family's milk cows would lift their complacent heads and stare at him. He wanted to splash in the creek, shouting at his brothers and sisters. Over the past couple of years, as time sped forward, all his journeys abroad just seemed to draw his heart closer to home. The only problem was he could never really go home. Neither the boy or the orchard would be different. Julius cradled his aching head a few more seconds before he pulled the car back on the road. Just one more time, he reassured himself. All I have to do is survive one more time. And God, you'll have to carry me through this one. The hollow rumble of his tires on the broad brick street vibrated in his mind and brought his eyes back into focus. Yellow light shimmered through spring leaves of ancient trees along the main street of Beetle River. In the sun-flecked landscape, Julius could see that during its heyday, this town had seen plenty of action. But today it existed in quiet, dilapidated silence, like an old gray horse slumbering as it stood in the sunshine of the late spring morning, one that had seen better days and now bided its time. How many residents lived here? 300? He blew out a breath and scowled. They wouldn't send a detective of his caliber for little minnows, but how could a kingpin crime boss hide here? Everyone knew they chose big cities with lots of people and lots of action where they could get lost among the crowds. Mom and Pop's Cafe sat on the street corner. A single-story, early 1900s vintage red brick building with large plate glass windows on either side of the heavy glass door. The antique sign read, "Good Eats, the best for miles." Julius pulled the Buick Somerset around to park, nosed in along the sidewalk. In the space beside him, a man slammed the door of his tan pickup and stepped across the sidewalk to the cafe. Julius followed the screen door, banging shut behind him with a good solid whack. Motionless ceiling fans, a black and white checkerboard floor, gleaming canisters, and spotless vinyl booths made Julius look for the jukebox. Had he left 1987 and stepped back into the 50s? The man from the tan pickup continued to the end of the counter. "Howdy, Pop," he said to the stocky gray-haired cook before throwing a leg over the last stool and settling down. "Bring me a cup of coffee, Becky. I'm supposed to meet Tom. He wants a bid on a project." He leaned both elbows on the counter. A straw cowboy hat shielded his face. "Pretty busy?" She placed the steaming cup of coffee in front of him. "Always." He cocked his head and pulled the cup toward him. Julius sat at the opposite end of the counter. He absorbed the homey atmosphere as the aroma of bacon, eggs, and hash browns mingled with the scent of roast beef and mashed potatoes. His taste buds went into overtime and his stomach audibly rumbled. A slight early morning coolness still hung in the air. "May I help you?" The pleasant girl with an honest face pulled a pen and order pad from her apron. "A cup of coffee, and what's good to eat here?" Becky Julius smiled. Her oval brown eyes widened, apparently studying his now tan-faced, dark brown eyes, trimmed brown wig, beard, and mustache. "Everything's good, just like the sign says." "What would you suggest to a poor, weary traveler whose last meal was a cold croissant 5 hours ago somewhere over Chicago?" "You want breakfast or lunch?" Her pen poised midair. Julius looked at the clock. 11. Let's go with lunch. "How about a hot roast beef sandwich, mashed potatoes, gravy, and vegetables du jour?" "Vegetables?" "English peas are in season." "Peas will be fine." Becky turned, hung the order at the window, and brought us coffee. "Cream? Sugar?" "Thanks. Black is fine." Julius spotted a section of the local newspaper on the counter and pulled it toward him, perusing the pages as he covertly observed the other customer. The man, hidden behind his own section of the paper, sipped his coffee. Julius noted from his blue jeans and work boots he worked outside of physical labor. The sleeves on his chambray shirt rolled up to three-quarter length revealed tanned, muscular forearms. He had an excellent physical shape, no beer belly or even a hint of a paunch, and he had a white cowboy hat. "Thanks." Julius put his paper down as Becky brought his food. The first man turned as a new customer arrived. "Hey, Tom, how's it going?" "Sorry I'm late," Tom said. "Had a cow calving, first calf ever." "Haven't been here long, just got my coffee." "Becky, bring Tom some coffee." He picked up his cup and twitched his head toward the back. "We're going to a booth."